We're just one day away from the election. Joining us now are two people we've spoken with regularly through the campaign. Former National Economic Council Director under President Trump, Gary Cohn. He's now IBM Vice Chairman, and former SEC Chairman under President Trump, Jay Clayton. He's also a CNBC contributor, and these guys are smart. And Jay Clayton just basically told us who's going to win the election. Whoever wins Pennsylvania.
I think it's hard to win the election without winning Pennsylvania.
Who's going to win Pennsylvania? That you have no idea, but you do know that it's an important...
Given it's my home state, I think, look, if middle of the state turnout is high, Trump wins.
Gary, you've been in this business so long with Goldman Sachs and everything else. Did you see a Trump trade, and then did you see the reversal of a Trump trade last week? And what the hell was that? Or is it all just on the margin?
Yeah, I think it's all on the margin. I think people are trying to attribute certain things that I think are going to naturally happen in the market to a Trump trade. So a lot of people are talking about what's going on in the yield curve as a Trump trade. I don't think what's going on in the yield curve or the steepening of U.S. Treasury markets as a Trump trade. I think it's a normalization trade. I always say we all forgot what normal looks like in a yield curve. We historically have a positively shaped yield curve. Over the last 20 years, we forgot what a normal yield curve looks like. We've had a flat or an inverted yield curve for the last 20 or so years. We're now getting a yield curve back to what it should look like, putting a risk premium in the longer dated treasuries. And I think we're going to put a bigger risk premium in because of the deficit we have. And I think what's going on now is people may be thinking that the Fed is not going to end up at a terminal Fed funds rate of 3%. Maybe we end up at 3.25%, 3.5%. And if we need 125 or 150 basis points of steepness between Fed funds and 10 years, well, 10 years has to go up. If we're 3.5 plus 125 or 150, 10 years is too low. And I think you're seeing that reprice right before our eyes in real time. And I don't think it's really a Trump trade. I think it's a realization of where the real economy is.
Is it a good thing, a bad thing, or is it a reimposition of some sort of forced fiscal austerity when it comes to what's expected from government?
I don't know. That's something we've been discussing. Look, the balance sheet's different, right? I mean, our balance sheet is not in as good a shape. You've had super smart people on here, Tudor Jones, Stan, tell you that this refinancing wall that we have coming up and what we've got to do in terms of refinancing our debt is vastly different than things we've faced in the past. 60% of the debt comes due within 5 years.
Would you put more stake in the betting markets or in the polls? And here's what I was saying. So if it's 58% someone's going to win the election, would you get on a plane if it was a 58% chance that it wouldn't crash?
No.
Neither would I.
No.
Betting markets. So they used to underestimate Trump because people wouldn't admit that they were voting for Trump. So that's been the way it was in 2020, 2016. Now they could have overcorrected for that because they put in different models. Do you think either polls or betting?
22 was overcorrected, right?
Overcorrected. Are either one of them do you have any idea what's going to happen tomorrow? Either one of you.
Let's recognize what I think a couple of your guests have already said, which is the Trump voter is a different voter today than the Republican voter of 20 years ago. In fact, the Trump voter of today was a Democratic voter of 20 years ago.
Many of them.
And going back to Pennsylvania, if you get those people in the middle of the state, blue-collar jobs, middle-class people to turn out, then Trump wins. And it's very hard for pollsters to do that because it's new. It's not patterns that you've seen in the past.
Can I ask about the Trump trade for a second?
Sure.
It goes back to the Musk comment that we were talking about earlier, this sort of temporary hardship idea with a sort of a glorious future on the other side of that. If you were actually playing that trade, that I thought actually was a very honest moment for Elon Musk to allow for, what does that actually mean in the marketplace? Meaning, if you really are going to slash and burn government, which, by the way, we may very well need to do, and given the bond market, it might help on the other side of that, too. Like, all of those things are true. But as an investment theory, as a theory of the case on an investment, if you were to take out millions of government employees basically at one shot, for example, or there was going to be some kind of inflationary period for 2 or 3 years as we try to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. for certain types of products, and those products now cost more. What does that actually do to the stock market?
So, look, it's a good question. And I think the reality of this is This is an evolution. You can't necessarily go in and skinny the government overnight. And if you understand the government policies and procedures, the budget process starts with OMB. OMB sends a budget to the House. The House takes the budget. Usually, they throw it in the trash can. If Mick Mulvaney's there, he calls for a vote.
Right.
He always forces a vote. Then the process starts. And so the House works through a budget. Congress decides where they want to spend money and where they don't want to spend money. Once it gets through the House, it ends up going to the Senate. The problem we have here, and this is a fundamental problem, is that each and every one of those House members is running for re-election again starting Wednesday, because they have a 2-year cycle.
Right.
Yeah.
So the idea that they're going to come in and they're going to start cutting massive amount of jobs, especially in their state or their district, who are voters for them, I think the possibility of that happening rounds up to zero.
What can you do with executive order? What could be done?
What could be done with the executive order?
Yeah, in terms of
I think this is a pretty noble cause that we got here. I mean, it's great to do this. I also thought, to Andrew's question, Musk recognized something when he laid this out. He said, you know what, we're not going to just let him go. We'll give him 2-year severance. This is about reinventing the government, but not about hurting government employees.
If you don't do it quickly, you lose momentum, though.
Right.
Oh, I think if you're going to do
You have to slash and burn. It doesn't work otherwise.
You can slash and burn, but you can slash and burn humanely. You can do so with large severance packages. I'm willing to pay for a severance package to reinvent government.